welcome to Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast. Today, I'm joined by Brock Sansbury, Vice President at OurRelationship. Hi, Brock. How's it going?
Hey, Lee. I'm doing well, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. This is going to be very interesting, unique for this show as well. This high level, it's a behavioral health solution that supports people, individuals and couples, navigating relationship problems. That's right, I think.
That is correct. Yes.
Brilliant. Tell us a little bit more, unwrap that for us. Tell us about the problem that you guys solve with the company mission.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just super happy to be here. What a wonderful opportunity, Lee. You never know what LinkedIn will do, right? But yeah, I mean, at the foundation, what our mission is to do is we want to provide an inclusive and accessible support to build thriving relationships, right? What we have found through our almost 25-year career is most couples don't reach out and try to at least attend some version of couple therapy, which is where our founders kind of honed in back in 2009. So we've really got a long history of research, of evidence-based sort of practices with one of our co-developers or co-founders co-developed integrative behavioral couple therapy, which sort of segued into what we now know is the OurRelationship program. But trying to give couples an opportunity to where it's affordable, it's accessible. You can do it from the comfort of your home. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with a coach, trying to just create access at every which way we can.
Like it. Okay. And do you find that the uptake of it is greater because the barriers to it are reduced?
I would say yes and no. I would say we're doing a pretty good job with eliminating those barriers, right? I mean, app-focused products, web-based sort of focused products, but what we're still trying to combat really is this idea of trying to build a community around where people don't want to say that they're struggling with something, right? You know, I mean, as a brand, as a mission statement, as a sort of philosophy, you don't really find people screaming from the rooftops, my relationship stinks, what can I do about it, right? And so I think in terms of brand tone and personality, we want to make people feel like this is a very normal thing. To me, you know, I think you and I were talking about it not too long ago. I mean, relationships are one of the main things that we all have in common, right? Outside of death, you know, if you really think about it, it's something we all sort of participate on a day-to-day basis, no matter what couple type you sort of identify as. And so how can we continuously sort of elevate the importance of healthy relationships and where that really sort of fits in with mental health, with behavioral health, with physical health, with substance use disorder, all of these sort of elements, right? I mean, if you really kind of dial it back again, I love to say my day ends and begins how I wake up in the morning, you know, and I think everyone can kind of feel that a little bit. So how can we humanize this thing that is so common and really can really elevate and enhance every area of your life, or in some ways destroy it?
And it is a huge problem, isn't it? Because, you know, as you say, it affects everyone. And you know, no one's relationship is ever perfect. And that's the thing. So what is the solution here? What's the actual product? How does that work?
Yeah. So when couples sort of come through our door, we provide them with about 8 to 10 hours of content. And again, you can do this tablet, computer, cell phone. But at the core of it, what we're trying to highlight for them is what's the main problem? What's the core issue that we're trying to at least come to the table and agree, okay, it's communication. So I like to say it's all in the name. So our company name, OurRelationship, is also an acronym for O, U, and R. Those are the three main phases of the program. So O is for observe, U is for understand, and R is for respond. And through this 8 to 10 hours of content, these couples are working on it's probably upwards of about 42 to 44 different activities. So some of these are personality assessments, relationship assessments. They're, you know, doing some drop downs, answering some questions. You know, we've sort of gamified it in a way, right? Which is pretty common in this industry these days, right? How are we making it sticky? How are we getting people to come back? But in the O phase, right, this is the crux of the program, right? We are going to work on communication. in the U phase, which is probably the meatiest phase of the program, and it's kind of where a lot of couples will get stuck too, historically. And that's really where integrative behavioral couple therapy is really sort of enhancing all of these different activities, right? When we talk about external stress, right? Patterns of communication, all of these things, right? What's my hula hoop? What's your hula hoop? How is it making me react to this core issue we're sort of identifying is the issue in our relationship? And the respond phase, again, is really the wrap up, the maintenance, the action, the planning phases of, okay, we've identified, we now have a better sense of where we're both coming from when it comes to this issue of trust or communication, whatever the core issue may be, and how are we going to act differently moving forward. And I would say on average, depending on the program, because we have a version for individuals, which we're really proud of. We've got our self-directed where couples, are doing this in the comfort of their own home. And then we've got our full coaching program as well, where they can have up to 5 calls with one of our coaches. Coaching, couples are completing that in about 4 to 6 weeks. You can probably imagine why completion rates are going to be traditionally higher for the coaching product as well. It's that accountability. It's that partner. It's the, oh no, we've got a call with so-and-so in 2 hours. We've got to finish these activities so we can go. What we see on the self-guided is probably about 8 to 11 weeks in terms of completion.
Okay. Interesting stuff. So Brock, how have you arrived here then? What's your background? What's your story?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love to tell that, and I appreciate you asking. So, I got here from a treatment center almost 11 years ago. So I'm in recovery from alcohol and drug addiction, and cut my teeth in the recovery community organizations of the world. And I was an interventionist using the ARISE model with Dr. Judith Landau, and kind of did any and everything you could possibly imagine doing in sort of the recovery treatment arena in the United States. So mental behavioral health, as a whole, fitting under that umbrella is it saved my life at one point in time. And it's just been where my natural sort of trajectory in my career has sort of led me. So, at the end of the day, my brain operates in scalability of, we've got this thing, how can we continuously innovate it and scale it and bring it to the masses? But then my heart always remains mission aligned with, if I've helped one person today, then I think I can lay my head down pretty well. But it's just been, it's been an incredible ride, I would say. And never, if you rewind the clocks to me being 24, talking to you here today, I would tell you you're insane. Because I was too self-assumed or consumed with myself. I never would consider others and what I could do to maybe help on a small scale, a medium scale, or a large scale. So I love where I'm at, and it's been a very interesting ride. And what I'm also really proud about too is, I don't know if I've told you this, Lee, but we're recently started a partnership with NIDA. So this is the National Institute on Drug Abuse in the United States. And we're currently developing an iteration for our program where these core issues are related to substance use and or recovery. So we're working with some national organizations right now, people like Commonly Well, David Whitestock and his team, Rich Jones at U-Turn Health. We're working with a couple more localized sort of recovery community organizations. And we're currently in the sort of development stages of that, like new content. How are we adapting this to fit this population? And then sometime in February of next year, we'll start running a small clinical trial of about 120 couples, and we'll see what we get. But as you could probably imagine, that's a very close and near and dear project of mine, passion project, if you will.
Kudos, man. I mean, that's quite the journey, isn't it?
Yeah. It's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah. You mean you touched on some positive things that are coming out of the business so far. It's rarely plain sailing. There's a lot of senior leadership, founders that listen to this show, and I always ask this question about how you guys navigate challenges, because inevitably there are some. Share a little for the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one that I've seen in the space currently is ROI. Right. The other one, I mean, we're not a healthcare company. We're an employee well-being company. We're a behavioral health company. So in terms of immediate ROI, that's a stretch, versus something around like diabetes or a reduction on claims cost, things of that nature. Right. The other thing really is trying to break through the noise of the larger sort of mental health, behavioral health conversations, right?
Yeah.
And obviously from my past experience with, working in sort of the SUD arena, it was a buzzword for a while, opioid settlements are buzzwords and this, and I think it's a great time to sort of highlight these other areas. But if we talk about like social determinants of health, right? What gets us motivated every single day? What wakes us up? What charts a clear chart, a course for us on a daily basis? And to me, it's any and all relationships. And so I think getting people to really understand that, regardless of the 51 peer-reviewed publications we have on outcomes for our product, has been a little bit of a challenge. I think contracts in today's world, when you're going from PEPM to utilization to value-based pricing, people just don't want to buy right now, right? I think some of these things we offer it, we check the box, but great, kudos, it's done. Yeah. So I think continuously trying to show value to where it matters is a tougher hill to climb. Because again, some of these employers and the EAPs, which are great partners of ours, but some of those are tough doors to get into.
Yeah, for sure. How do you do that then? Because I'd assume that you would position this maybe to HR and finance. Yeah. They're the main targets, and obviously they've got hundreds of behavioral health companies that are saying look after your employees' well-being for anxiety and depression and all of these different things. But not really from the standpoint of a relationship, more probably personal, I would imagine. Right. And are you finding that they get it, or are you finding that you need to be really sort of having conversations with them before they do, to understand that actually relationships touch all of our lives?
Yeah, I don't know if I could definitively answer that question. I would say it's probably a split. What I have found is academia gets it. I would say, depending on the individual's background, like if they were a clinician at one point in time versus just kind of being the HR manager or the benefits coordinator or whatever that is, they sort of understand, because what they realize is no one wants to work with couples, right? What they also realize is insurance doesn't cover couple therapy. So there's a high cost for some of these EAPs and these larger employers, in terms of, if it's a 5, 6, 7, 8 session model, every time they go in, or every time they sort of, contact the EAP, if you will, and we can help reduce that bottom line almost instantly. Right. And that's another interesting one too, around some of these cost containment strategies and conversations that I've had with employers and EAPs as well, is, there was a recent publication that came out of Baltimore, Maryland, I think last August. And I do find it interesting that utilization is the name of the game, right? So to get these conversations, you've got to prove that people want to use your stuff. Okay, I get that. But then getting into that contract, let's just say year one, what you'll find consistently is there's relatively no marketing or no awareness around said services that would naturally increase the utilization. So why wouldn't you want to increase utilization? Well, that for starters would increase your cost. Right. So that whole ecosystem in and of itself is a very interesting rope to walk, if you will. So yeah.
I guess where I was speaking from my own personal experience of, before I set up this business, I was managing big recruitment teams, here in the UK and overseas as well. And I was director there, but you always also acted as almost like a relationship coach, because you could tell, and you would obviously get you would sit down with the team and things like that, and if that person was having a relationship challenge, then that person's performance was nowhere near where it should be.
You can see decrease. Absenteeism
bottom line before, and that's
absenteeism, productivity, which again, those can get a little fuzzy. I mean, you can take that all the way up to CEO roles as well, and decision making that can happen. I don't have those stats in the back of my head, but there's a really interesting publication on that, like executive level sort of leadership, when they're going through divorces and such.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, couldn't agree more.
Interesting. So you touched on this before. Last question. You mentioned some partnerships that you've got coming up. Anything else that's exciting that you can share with the listeners?
Man, today actually we launched our brand new public facing website that we're really proud of. So we kind of are over the next couple of weeks pushing out a new rebrand and just a fresh look and feel. We've had some major updates to our LMS that are making it more modern, better functionality. So that's probably the biggest thing on the horizon for us now, is just looking like we can play ball with some of these other companies.
What's the website name, Brock, for the listeners?
Yeah, OurRelationship.com.
Nice.
And you can find us on all the social handles with that same name there. Yeah.
Love it. Brock, thanks so much for coming on. It's been really interesting talking to you.
Thank you, Lee. I very much appreciate it, man.
Guys, this is Brock Sansbury from Our Relationship. Thanks again.